Do you want to stay more focused on the right goals in your life, or even just figure out what the right goals are for you? Do you want clarity? Do you want better work-life balance? Well, you're in the right place. Welcome to Success Through Failure.
Welcome to the Success Through Failure podcast, the show that reveals failure as your path to success. You'll listen to intriguing interviews with some of the most successful people on the planet and learn how their failures became a launchpad for success and how yours can too. Here's your host, former Division I All-American wrestler, former Division I head coach, speaker, and personal coach, Jim Harshaw.
Welcome to another episode of Success Through Failure. This is your host, Jim Harshaw, and I'm bringing you another solo episode today. I've been enjoying doing more of these lately, and I've got some great feedback from you. So love hearing from you. So if you do love hearing these, if you have topics that you want to hear more about, just let me know. Shoot me an email, find me on Twitter, etc. But Jim@JimHarshaw Jr. is my email if you want to offer any feedback. You love these episodes, you hate these episodes, you'd like me to interview more of this type of guest or another type of guest, any other topics you want me to cover. So that would be it'd be awesome. Love hearing from you. So thank you for the feedback. Actually, I've been hearing from quite a few of you lately. So keep it coming. It's finally spring here in Charlottesville. The weather is broken and it's actually nice outside. It's had some warm days and some cool days, but I think spring is finally here. But I keep hearing about all the snow out in the Midwest, so we haven't had any of that lately. But with spring, that means all this great weather in Charlottesville. That means my mind starts drifting off to camping and kayaking and rock climbing and all those things that I love to do, but actually probably don't do nearly as much of these days because I've got 4 kids, and I usually end up, instead of doing all these fun adventures, I end up at soccer games and baseball games and running kids to guitar practice or piano practice and guitar or gymnastics and horse riding lessons and all the good stuff that comes with kids. So those are awesome activities in their own right. So, but I'd love to do those more consistently, which is probably a good segue into our topic today, which is consistency. That's one of the things that people who come to me, whether they're clients or folks I just talked to, they struggle with consistency, trying to lock in and be consistent on the things that they know they need to do to get from where they're at to get to where they want to go, right? Whether it's in their relationships or their health or financially, et cetera. It's hard to be consistent because we're pulled in so many different directions and we have all these competing priorities and the challenges in our lives. So how do we be more consistent? That's just something that I'm constantly asked, and so I'm going to do the whole episode on that today. I have all kinds of notes on this, all kinds of bullet points that I've been thinking about over the course of the last couple of weeks, really, about how I stay consistent. And by no means am I perfect. I don't know what you think I'm coming across from this place of I'm uber and ultra consistent in everything that I do, because I'm not. It's one thing that I want to be more consistent at everything that I do. But I feel like I'm pretty good at it, in part because I coach people to be more consistent. It's one of those things like when I was coaching wrestling, that is, I was just, it teaches you. It's like this level of self-accountability. You know, if you're telling somebody else that they have to do something or do things a certain way, you kind of feel a little bit convicted to have to do the same things, whether it's the way you live your life or the kinds of foods you eat or the technique that you do when you're actually wrestling in matches. So it's the same way with what I do, and I feel like I just have to practice what I preach. So that level of accountability, just putting it out there to you, as well as my clients, makes me feel more accountable to be consistent. So that's actually one of the tactics I've written down here. But I want to share with you just several different ways that you can be more consistent, different things that you can bring into your life to help you be more consistent. Some of it's technology stuff, some of it's mindset stuff, some of it's goal setting things and tactics and strategies. But if you take all of these, I'm going to give you probably 15 different things. But if you can take 2 or 3 of these and implement them into your life, I guarantee you will be more consistent. You'll be more successful at the things you're trying to accomplish in your life. So here we go. the first thing that you have to do to be more consistent is to get clear on what it is exactly that you want to be consistent on and why, right? If you want to be more consistent with the foods that you eat, right? Your diet and how you eat, we have to figure out why. So why do you want to be more consistent with that? Do you want to lose weight? Do you want to look good at the pool, the neighborhood pool, like Forest Lakes pool I'm going to this summer? It's going to be opening here in a few months. Like, do you want to be walking around at the pool or at the beach looking good? Do you just want to feel better? Do you want to be more productive in your life? Do you want to be more productive at work? Not get that afternoon slump? What is the reason why you want to be more consistent? What's your why? What is the reason behind that? If you can tether this to something that's meaningful, a core value, ideally, or a meaningful goal, then it's going to be easier for you to be more consistent. And that requires a productive pause. And if you don't know what a productive pause is, go to jimharshawjr.com/productive pause. Just the URL, just my website, jimharshawjr.com/productive pause. And I have a whole blog post there or sort of outlining what a productive pause is. But for those of you who have listened to the show for a while, you definitely know, but the definition is a short period of focused reflection around specific questions that leads to clarity of action and peace of mind. Clarity of action and peace of mind. Think of that. That's what we're really seeking, is that clarity of action and the peace of mind. So you first have to start with that productive pause. Identify what is meaningful to me, why it's meaningful, then that's going to help you be more consistent. The next one is actually taking that to the next step and actually writing down your goals. Having written, documented goals. It's this level of self-accountability. When you have written goals, you're more accountable. They take things from just your inside your head, which is swirling with thousands of other thoughts every day and all day long, and put those things out into the real world. Put your goals into the real world. Put them on paper. And when you do that, it helps you be more consistent. So I have my goals documented. I write down, I write in the 5-minute journal, which is an awesome tool. If you haven't heard of that, just Google 5-minute journal. It's a great thing. And actually I have a link to that. I'll have the link to that in the action plan, just the Amazon link where you can buy that on Amazon, but it's the 5-minute journal. There's also an app. I've not used the app, but I've talked to a few folks who have used the app. Matter of fact, I talked to somebody yesterday who has the app, but it's just a 5-minute journal app. And it forces you to write down every morning, 3 things I'm grateful for, 3 things that would make today great. And these are just, these are basically short-term goals. What are my goals today? Once you write those things down, you'll be more consistent as well. So writing your goals. The other thing I do is several days a week, I actually write down sort of the shorthand version of all my goals. I have 6 goals this year, and I write down that shorthand version of the goal several times a week just into a notebook. And when I do that, it helps me be more consistent because I'm constantly reminded of what I'm doing and why and what my goals are. So that's another great tactic for you. Next one is using reminders, right? And there's a lot of different ways to do this. You can obviously use your phone. Technology is so great for this. I have so many reminders set on my phone. I have alarms that go off once a day. I have alarms that go off once a week, just to remind me to do these things, to be consistent, because if that reminder doesn't go off, it just kind of slipped off my radar, right? And that's usually, or at least oftentimes, what happens is we're not consistent because you're just busy, right? You got a million other things going on in your life, and you're just busy. And sometimes that's not the case. It's actually the sort of mental choice that you make. We'll talk about that later too. But for the times where you're not consistent because you just forget or you just don't have enough time in the day and other priorities take over, having those reminders set on your phone is really helpful. Also, setting reminders on your calendar, because maybe it's not something that you do every day or every week, but it's like maybe once a month or once a quarter or once a year. But how do you get consistent at that is as you set these reminders on your electronic calendar, or even a written calendar, of course. And the other way to use reminders is just use good old-fashioned paper, Post-it notes, right? Write a Post-it note, post it on your mirror, post it on your door, post it on the in the center of your steering wheel. Whatever it is that's going to help you remember to do something. And one of the things that I do with folks that are in Reveal Your Path is we work on a mantra, and it takes a while to build in the habit of repeating your mantra every day. But that's one of the things you do is you set reminders until this becomes a habit and just a routine that you do. So setting reminders is really helpful. Another one is just creating routines so that you do the same thing on a daily basis or a weekly basis. Daily routines are the best. One of the things that we do in the private Facebook group for all of the folks who have signed up for my program, Reveal Your Path, we have this private Facebook group, and one of the things that we do each month is a new Sidcha. And a Sidcha is a self-imposed, daily, challenging, healthy activity. So that's what it stands for, SIDCHA, self-imposed, daily, challenging, healthy activity. And this Sidcha is, well, first of all, the term was coined by Josh Spodek, and I've had Josh Spodek on the podcast twice, episode 58 and again episode 58 and 89. And Josh, he's amazing, leadership expert, just really absurdly practical. That's how I describe my discussions with Josh. It's just absurdly practical leadership advice and things you can implement into the real world right away. So again, episode 58 and 89, if you want to check those out. But anyway, he coined this term Sidcha, and he says, you don't do this because you're disciplined. You become disciplined because you do this. And he does a Sidcha every day. He does burpees. I think he's up to 52 a day. Every single day he does it. He does them without fail, whether he's sick or not sick or healthy or feeling good or feeling bad or had a few drinks or whatever the case might be. He always does his Sidcha for, I forget how many years now he's been doing this every single day. But that's what we do. We do a new Sidcha every month. We pick a new Sidcha in the group, and whoever wants to sign up for it can sign up for it. And we hold each other accountable to actually doing these every day by posting our results. But this makes us disciplined. And I talk about routines, and interestingly, I work out first thing in the morning, as I've talked about on a few recent episodes. And typically I will incorporate my Sidcha into that morning workout. Well, the Sidcha for this month isn't really fitting into my morning workout, just for it's like just tricep dips, like just body weight tricep dips. And because I do push-ups in the morning, and it just kind of doesn't fit into the routine. And so I usually do some in the morning, but I'll leave some for the afternoon or the evening. But it's not part of my routine to do those in the evening. So I've forgotten a couple of days, and I've had to kind of go back and make them up. And so this idea of a routine is so important. And because I don't have this in my set routine, or I've broken my routine, I've not been consistent with my Sidcha. So that just was reinforced the idea for me that I have to have these routines in order to be consistent, and so do you. So creating routines and looking at your day, and how can I restructure my day? How can I rethink about how I go about my day so that I can actually do this thing that I want to do more consistently? So routines. The next one is this. It's reduce friction. How do you reduce the friction so that it's easier for you to be consistent? I'll give you some examples. If you want to work out more consistently in the morning, say, one of the things that you can do to reduce friction is to lay out your workout clothes the night before. If you want to be more consistent in eating healthy, then buy those healthy foods and make sure you have them handy so that whenever you're hungry, you can eat the healthy food, and it's easy and convenient for you to eat the healthy food as opposed to what's laying around or what's closest, which is usually some kind of processed food crap, right? And so making it easy on yourself, reducing the friction. Here's another one. Plan tomorrow today. This is something I call the 4:30 p.m. rule, and I have an alarm that goes off on my phone at 4:30, and when it does, I plan tomorrow today. It just kind of it prompts me to sort of evaluate where I'm at with my day today, and kind of the end of the workday in sight, and I go, okay, what am I not going to get done today that I need to work on tomorrow, so that. And I plan that so that tomorrow when I show up in the office and I sit down and I turn on my computer, I know what I need to start working on. I don't have to go, okay, what do I need to start working on again? And kind of use that mental energy to think about planning my day. I've already done that. And I did it at a time where I was already ensconced in all the stuff. I know that's a big word. Look it up. But ensconced, right? I was already ensconced in the stuff that I wanted to do. And I knew I needed to get done by the end of the day, that I knew it wasn't going to get done. I know what's important at that moment. So plan tomorrow today when you're already in the midst of your workday. And that way you don't turn on the computer and go, I don't know what I need to do, what my biggest priority is for today. So let me just start by doing the worst thing, is just entering into the black hole of email, right? And start responding. So planning that day in advance helps to reduce that friction. Here's another one. If you want to be consistent at listening to the Success Hotline, then just do what I've done and program it into your phone as Success Hotline. And that's just one of the contacts in my address book. And all I need to do is I plug my phone in when I'm driving, and anytime I want to call Success Hotline, I just press the button on my steering wheel and I say, call Success Hotline, and boom, there it is. It's the easiest thing in the world for me to call the Success Hotline with Dr. Rob Gilbert. And if you've not listened to my episode with Dr. Rob Gilbert, let me do a quick look here. That's episode 33 with Dr. Rob Gilbert. He's left a motivational message every day since like 1992. It's absurd. Talk about consistent. I will actually use him as an example here in a minute. But the Success Hotline phone number is, and I'll have this in the action plan. You can grab this and everything I'm talking about here in the action plan. Just go to jimharshawjr.com/action to get the cliff notes, or the spark notes, I guess they call them these days, from this episode. So it's the phone number for the Success Hotline. You should call it right now after this podcast is over, because there's going to be another awesome short motivational message there. And that number is 973-743-4690. Again, 973-743-4690. And so anyway, if you want to be consistent, if you want to consistently bring positive messages into your life, into your day, or you want to make this part of your morning routine, make it really easy on yourself. Program it into your phone as Success Hotline. Make it a favorite, one of your favorites on your phone if that makes it easier for you. But reduce friction. That was the last one that I talked about there. So the next one here, moving on, accountability. Welcome it. You want consistency? Welcome accountability into your life. When I was competing as a wrestler, I'll be honest, I didn't want to go to wrestling practice. It was just a time of the day where I just felt like I was in a slump at like 3:30, 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Just was not my peak energy time. It was like my low point in my day. And I never really felt like going to practice. But you know what? There was accountability there. I had teammates who I was accountable to, and they were accountable to me. So we all showed up at the same time every day and did something. We did something hard, something really hard. And that accountability just really helps you helps you be consistent. So how can you welcome accountability into your life? I know it's scary. I know it's hard. I know it's a commitment, but it will help you be more consistent. So can you join a mastermind group? Can you bring in, connect with an accountability partner, somebody who's trying to achieve the same thing as you, and connect with them on a weekly basis, a monthly basis, whatever the case might be, over the phone? Can you just flat out tell someone? Just tell somebody, anybody, just tell them, say, hey, I'm going to do this. I'm going to work out every day for 30 straight days. Just tell them. Putting it out into the real world, telling somebody just helps you feel more accountable. Another one, get a coach. Get a coach. I've got one. And get somebody who can hold you accountable. That's what I do for a lot of my clients, is I just hold them accountable to the things that they know they need to do. And I was talking to one client yesterday, and she said, every time I had to get on the phone with you, I knew that this is when she was actually going through my program of Reveal Your Path with the group. She said that, I knew when I got on the phone that I had to actually have followed through on the action item that I told you that I would do the week before. And that level of accountability just helps you be consistent. The next one, commit to something. Just commit to something. At a certain level, it's as simple as that. Commit to something. Commit to a SID job. Commit to running a marathon, right? Sign up for it. Make the commitment. Commit to, like I did, I committed to this podcast, right? 2.5 years ago, gosh, approaching 3 years ago, I committed to this podcast. I made the commitment to actually do. Yeah, it's 3 years. I don't even know when the 3-year anniversary was, but it's right around now. Actually, is it right around April of 3 years ago. But making that commitment every week to do a podcast, it's kind of scary, but you know what? I made the commitment and I do it. You hold me accountable, whether you know it or not. I feel accountable to you in getting this podcast out there. You know, Dr. Gilbert, who I talk about consistency, he committed to doing the Success Hotline every day, and he does it every day. And I asked him once, I said, how do you, maybe it was in the podcast episode when I interviewed him on episode 33. I might have been during that, but I said, how can you be that consistent where you do something every single day? He's like, Jim, it's not that hard. He goes, it's a few minutes. And he goes, whenever you were training and competing, you worked out every day, didn't you? I'm like, well, yeah. And he's like, well, that was harder than leaving a 5-minute message. I'm like, oh yeah, okay, good point. You know, we can all be consistent. You're consistent at something every day. Maybe it's going to work or feeding your kids or walking your dog or whatever. You're consistent at something because you have to be. So how do you make this thing that you're consistent? How do you make it so you have to be consistent with it? Seth Godin, he writes a blog post every day. If you're into marketing business, you may have heard of Seth Godin, but he writes a podcast every day. And I remember listening to an episode, he writes a blog post every day. I remember listening to him on a podcast once, and somebody asked him, how do you do that every day? How do you come up with content or ideas every day? He goes, you just do. If you commit to something, then it just happens, right? There's this like magic that happens when you actually make a commitment. You say, okay, I'm going to write every day. Well, guess what? You find ideas to write about. You look all around you. There's a million ideas to write about. And you just, if your antenna are up for them, then you're going to find them. So, just committing to something. And here's another one. You know, Dr. Gilbert actually talks about this on the Success Hotline, but he talks about instant negative feedback. What's the instant negative feedback that you can give yourself if you don't follow through on a commitment? And it could be this. You know, well, think about this. If you smoke a cigarette today, you get cancer in 40 years, right? If you smoked a cigarette today and you got cancer like this evening, nobody would smoke, right? Nobody would smoke because you get instant negative feedback. So here's how you can replicate that into your life. And I'm stealing this straight from Dr. Gilbert shamelessly. And he says, you just take a $20 bill, put it in an envelope, seal it, address the envelope to your biggest nemesis, right? Whoever, if you have a rival school, for me, I went to UVA, so Virginia Tech is our bitter rival, right? Address it to whoever you would least want to give that money to, put a stamp on it. And if you ever don't follow through on a commitment, something you're committed to, maybe it's a sidcha, maybe it's some kind of workout, maybe it's something with your relationship, maybe it's something with starting a business. I'm going to get my business license in the next 30 days. I'm going to file for my LLC in the next 30 days. And if I don't, I'm sending this $20 off to whoever it is, right? So that's instant negative feedback as opposed to just kicking the can down the road and it not being a big deal if you follow through or don't follow through. So that's it. So that's committing to something. Make the commitment, dive in, go for it, and you'll stick to it. You'll find yourself being more consistent. Here's another one is belief. Creating the belief that what you want is possible. That the outcome that you want to be consistent, that the action that you want to be consistent doing is going to create the outcome that you know that it could. Creating the mindset, the belief that it's not only possible, that it's actually going to happen. Right? And you do this through positive self-talk. You do this through visualization. You do this through journaling. You do this through hiring a coach who can coach you through this. You do this through doing something I call a cognitive conversion. I talk about this in depth in episode 139. Cognitive conversion. You don't have to remember all these podcast episodes I'm giving you. Again, those will be in the action plan, jimharshawjr.com/action. The episode numbers and hyperlinks to those will all be right in the action plan. So don't worry about trying to memorize everything I'm giving you here. But episode 139, I go in depth about a cognitive conversion. How do you have a shift in your personal self-belief so that you can actually achieve the things that you want to achieve. When you have that cognitive conversion, you're going to find yourself being more consistent. And here's the last one. Just freaking do it. Mechanically do the thing. Whatever that thing is that sucks, that you don't want to do, because you're making this mental choice that, you know what, I just don't want to do that. I'm going to eat the donut, or I'm going to sleep in and hit the snooze button, or I'm going to do whatever that thing is that you know you shouldn't do, right? Or not do the thing you know you should do. Just do it. We wait for the momentum. We wait for the emotion. We wait until we feel like it. We've got to do it when you don't feel like it. And sometimes it's as simple as just doing the damn thing. Just do it. Peel off the Band-Aid, do the thing, right? And usually that just, all it takes is doing the first step. I don't want to go to the gym. Just pack your gym bag. Just do the first step. Mechanically do it. I don't want to make that sales call. You know what? Just pick up the phone and start pushing your fingers against the phone and pressing the numbers. Just doing it mechanically without emotion, even though it sucks. You have to logically do it, and don't let your emotions take over. So there you have it. A lot of different ways to be consistent. You can do this. You can find the ways for you to be consistent so you can get from where you're at to where you want to go. It is possible. You've been consistent before. You are already consistent at something in your life now, probably lots of things. So you have the ability to be consistent because you have been consistent. You are consistent. Now it's a matter of doing this in that other area of your life where you know you need to be consistent. So do it. Start on it. Download the action plan from this. You can kind of review this, revise. You can print it out. You can send it to a friend. Post it on your wall. But be consistent. You know what you need to be consistent at. So get to work. I'm glad I had a chance to share this with you. If you get a chance, please share this with one other person. Just tell them to check out this episode. It's episode number 142. Just tell them to go to jimharshawjr.com/142 to check out this episode. And or you can, if you're listening to this on iTunes, you can click like the three little dots and then you can share it from there. You can send this in an email. You can text somebody and say, hey, check out the Success Through Failure podcast. That would be awesome. That is the single best way to grow this episode, grow the podcast, and to get more people linked in to listening to Success Through Failure. I appreciate your time. I appreciate your ear. I would love to hear from you. So shoot me an email. Let me know how you like these episodes. Let me know if there's any other topics you want to hear about. Until then, take the time to get clear on your goals and embrace failure as a stepping stone on your path to success.